We'd like to extend our sincerest apologies and condolences to every high school teacher who has to start the week trying to convince their students to give any kind of about learning history, civics, in a world in which Donald Trump has announced that he is going to reopen Alcatraz prison.
I hold a very unreasonable belief, and I cannot be the only one who's thinking this, but I definitely feel like I can swim back from Alcatraz easily. Like, it's marketed as this inescapable prison, but I don't think it's inescapable anymore.
Alcatraz? I'm going to try to do this without laughing. Reporting live from the United States of Embarrassment, I have your breaking good news now. It seems as if the Dollar Tree dictator wants to reopen Alcatraz.
This might be my favorite breaking Trump news ever, as millions of Americans were sitting down for dinner with their families on a nice Sunday night. He was sitting on his toilet alone somewhere in the White House, furiously mashing out a Truth Social post about how he was instructing the FBI, DOJ, and DHS to reopen Alcatraz prison.
What is up, YouTube? My name is Happiness and welcome to my channel. So, the United States President Donald Trump has just announced that he wants to open up a museum into a prison. People call it the most dumbest move to happen since his presidency, and it seems like he wants to take all those notorious prisoners that should be going to El Salvador to go to this prison, and he mentioned it as he is trying to do right to what most judges can't do. So eventually, yes, the rock is now going to be open, and most people on social media have also said that they feel that they can escape from this prison. They believe that they can swim away from the prison itself, and people are saying that it's gonna cost the president 120 million US dollars to operate that prison, and it was recently closed because that it was an expensive prison to run. So if the president has just not done a better job in causing the country to go into a major recession, no, he is starting to pull a record in this. Yes, people from America, there you go. Your president is one of the worst presidents in history. But despite that, let's hear on what people have to say about Trump's decision in opening up Alcatraz, aka The Rock.
Alcatraz. Now Trump is saying he's sending people to Alcatraz. Does the man not know it is a museum and contributes to California state parks? It's like 60 million or something. Let me double check. Yeah, 60 million. $60 million. And he's going to turn it into a prison on his, like a useful. We're going to send the bad people there. Alcatraz Island that hasn't been used in, let me check that too, 1963. That prison hasn't been in use since 1963. And this dumb wants to make it a useful prison again. So he's just going to take that 60 million that's generated for the state of California and just probably watched some stupid movie about Alcatraz and decided, that sounds what?
We'd like to extend our sincerest apologies and condolences to every high school teacher who has to start the week trying to convince their students to give any kind of about learning history, civics, in a world in which Donald Trump has announced that he is going to reopen Alcatraz prison. Rebuild, enlarge, and reopen Alcatraz prison. Prison off the coast of one of the most expensive cities in the world, closed 60 years ago because it's too expensive to keep open. President of your country is making his top priority. Why did we even go to college? How do you get a kid to take an AP test? this week. Anyway, apologies.
When I was a little girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, my parents took my sister and I to California for the first time. And we went to Alcatraz. And since then, I have been obsessed with all things Alcatraz and the supposed escapes from the island. Well, it seems that now we're getting it back. I don't know if you've heard, but President Trump has called for Trump to be rebuilt bigger and better than ever to house our most notorious criminals. Alcatraz has a super interesting history. It was opened in 1934 on 22 acres and was only open for 29 years. It's about 1.25 miles from shore and supposedly impossible to escape. And there's only been 14 documented attempts in the history of those 29 years. There is a famous movie, Escape from Alcatraz, which documents the attempted escape of 3 inmates in 1962. Now, no one knows if they reached the shore, but the FBI says that they believe that 3 inmates just drowned. I mean, the island has housed criminals like Al Capone and the infamous Bird of Alcatraz, Public Enemy #1, Alvin Karpis, and James Whitey Bulger, among others. It finally closed in 1963 because it just became too costly to maintain versus, mainland prisons. And now, of course, it's a super popular tourist attraction, but I, for one, am all for bringing back Alcatraz to house any of those just scum of the earth that we don't need anywhere near our families, our kids, our wives, our husbands, all the things. What do you think?
So Donald Trump has said that he wants to reopen a prison that's known as Alcatraz. Now, a lot of you guys have been on the moon for the last 50 years. Alcatraz was a prison that was opened up in the early 40s, and it was discontinued around the year 1963. Donald Trump says because of the mass growing of violent criminals right here in the United States that they want to reopen Alcatraz. Now, they say Alcatraz costs 3 times more than a regular prison in the United States to run. Why? Because this prison sits on an island. It sits on a rock. So there's a lot of movies called Alcatraz from way back in the day. There's a lot of movies called The Rock. This prison has become a tourist attraction right here in the United States now, where a lot of people actually tour this prison. So they said that the amount of money that they make just on the tours wouldn't make any sense for them to reinvest and renovate the property and turn it back into a prison. But I just think that Donald Trump should really be investing that money into other things that need to be invested in. More prisons. Yes, we do need more prisons, but why open up a prison that's been closed since the 60s? Why wake up a dinosaur that's been gone for years? If you're going to open up a prison, why invest that type of money? 3 times as much as it costs to run just a regular prison. You have a prison in Indiana called Westville Correctional Facility. That prison houses over 3,000 inmates. So they're saying Alcatraz would cost 3 to 6 times more just to run that prison. And he wants to put the most violent offenders in that prison in Alcatraz. That's in the United States. But I feel like that it's bigger than just the criminals in the United States. We have a lot of criminals in the United States that's not even from the United States. So I don't know if I agree with him reopening up that prison, that old prison. But what I do agree with is, yes, we do need more prisons open. But I think that spending that type of money on that particular prison, that money can be well invested somewhere else other than the dinosaur. I call a prison a dinosaur. So again, like I said, if you guys don't know what Alcatraz is, it was opened up in the early 40s, and it was discontinued or closed down in 1963 because of the conditions. They said that the prison's going to take a whole lot of money to re-get the prison back up to standards. Now, we do know that the government do have the money. All the money that they discovered in that Doge fund, they could use a lot of that money to reinvest in that prison. But I think a lot of that money can be better invested in other places. But you guys let me know what you think. And by the way, good Monday morning, y'all.
This might be my favorite breaking Trump news ever, as millions of Americans were sitting down for dinner with their families on a nice Sunday night. He was sitting on his toilet alone somewhere in the White House, furiously mashing out a Truth Social post about how he was instructing the FBI, DOJ, and DHS to reopen Alcatraz prison to house serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. Such as Kyle Rittenhouse then. I just love how this came together, because you know he was talking to his cabinet and said, "I wish I had my own Seacot." And then he remembered seeing an old Clint Eastwood movie called Escape from Alcatraz. Now you might think, no, that came out 46 years ago, but yes, he was still 33 then. At that point he thought, God damn it, I am a genius. Now I also love this because I just took a tour around Alcatraz Island. That place closed in 1963. It is a crumbling pile of bricks. It's also a national park that generates $60 million in tourism revenue every year. The maximum capacity of only 336 people, Alcatraz closed in part because it was the most expensive prison in the country to operate. At the time of its closure, after adjusting for Trump's inflation, it cost the equivalent of $105 per prisoner per day to keep the prison running. Assuming tourists don't want to visit there after it's been reopened, bit of rough math, you can see that he wants to erase $60 million in tourism revenue and replace it with at least $13 million a year in taxpayer-funded spending, which I would imagine would at least triple given that he wants to expand it, considering his illegal flights to El Salvador would have nearly filled the prison at its current capacity. So he wants to eliminate $60 million in annual revenue and increase government spending by tens of millions a year just to feed into the prison industrial complex. Of all the stupid Trump bull, this may be the stupidest Trump bull.
Alcatraz. I'm going to try to do this without laughing. Reporting live from the United States of Embarrassment, I have your breaking good news now. It seems as if the Dollar Tree dictator wants to reopen Alcatraz to house the criminals. Not himself, though. He's talking about the violent ones. Alcatraz, which has been closed since 1962. The amount of money it would take to reopen Alcatraz, as well as the time, it would be well past his expiration date. And I'm just going to say expiration date, okay? I don't know what that means and what you take for it, but expiration, okay? Technology has advanced so much since then. That entire building would have to be rewired for 2025. And for him to get on social media and say that lets me know he is declining. He's declining. Someone needs to take his phone. Okay? So, because if you are, and as always, I will be available to provide you with breaking good news to outweigh the bad. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
I hold a very unreasonable belief, and I cannot be the only one who's thinking this, but I definitely feel like I can swim back from Alcatraz easily. Like, it's marketed as this inescapable prison, but I don't think it's inescapable anymore. Plus, we got those 3 prisoners or whatever that showed us the method. All you got to do is put a puppet in the bed and then slip your way out. We got climate change on our side now, as much as I hate to admit that. Like, that's a terrible sentence to say, but we got our warm weather, so I would just wait until summer. And by summer, I mean a random week at the end of October when it's 100 degrees randomly. So we got summer in San Francisco. It's going to be a lot warmer than usual. I know people are probably thinking like sharks, dolphins, sea lions, mermaids, all that, like crabs. I don't know. I don't really think it's that much of a threat, because like, how many people get attacked by sharks per year? It can't be that many. Even if I did get taken out by a shark, that would be a pretty honorable way to go. Like, I'm in their territory, so it's nothing to complain about. Like, I'm on their land or sea, I should say. Out of all the ways to go, I would actually kind of prefer that, if I'm being completely honest. I hate that this is even something I'm thinking about right now too, because it's always the things no one asked for and no one was proposing that get proposed.
So it is just like Donald Trump to take something that is currently available to the public, a national park, that makes profits $60 million a year, to take it and make it private, turn it into a prison that's going to cost $120 million a year, which is what his plan apparently is with Alcatraz. Now, there are a lot of reasons why Alcatraz was shut down less than 30 years after it started serving as a prison. Aside from the escapees, part of it was because it costs so much to maintain. And this is, you build Rock Island in the middle of salt water. That's going to be problematic. There's a lot of infrastructure issues, but the cost alone for prisoners was crazy. So right now, the average annual cost for each federal inmate is, I think, like $40-something thousand per year, which is crazy. But the cost to put somebody into Alcatraz just to do the repairs and be able to maintenance it would be over $300,000 a year. And it can only hold up to 375 prisoners. It's an island. You can't grow it. That's it. That's the size. That's all of it. And I feel like that is so on brand for Trump to again, take something that's available to the public that sends a profit of $60 million a year and turn it into something that's going to cost us more than twice that, more than $120 million a year to house 375 prisoners at 9 times the cost of every other federal prison in this country.
Okay, thank you for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe, and let's meet up to the next one. And how I like to say it, peace out.